We're done beating them up, Vince. Are
Yeah.
you ready for rapid fire?
Always ready for rapid fire. Let's do this.
All right, let's do it. Fill in the blank. It's blank that after beating North Carolina 2 weeks ago and BYU this week, Notre Dame is still unranked and behind both of them in both the AP and coaches polls this week.
It's appropriate. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's appropriate because neither one of them lost to Marshall. And that is the anchor that is holding Notre Dame down. And they're obviously better than North Carolina. They're better than BYU. They beat them both on the field. The problem is North Carolina has won every one of their other games by a lot. Like, they're scoring. Drake May is like a dark horse Heisman candidate for what he's doing. It's like they forget about the Notre Dame game, and the 28-20 score of the BYU game is not indicative of how that game went. And so that's what people are looking at, and they have a bigger win right now in Baylor than Notre Dame. You know what I mean? So I get it. I don't like it. I get it. But Notre Dame will have opportunities moving forward to leapfrog both of them if they take care of the business that they need to take care of.
What's crazy, and I realize BYU has a nice win over Baylor, and basically Notre Dame's best win right now is over BYU. BYU got 82 votes in the coaches poll. Notre Dame only got 13 right after they just played each other, and Notre Dame won on a neutral site.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It is. And they both have 2 losses for that, so it's like, I guess 4-2 compared to 3-2, but it's just like, that's like typical coaches poll stuff. But then North Carolina, I saw, by beating Miami, they jumped up 15 spots into that number 25 spot. And again, Notre Dame just beat them 2 weeks ago. Their only loss is to Notre Dame.
And they made them look bad.
Number 25.
I mean, they made North Carolina look bad. They made Drake May look bad. Drake May's look great. And I hope I'm saying his name right, but he has been.
Yeah, Drake May.
Yeah, okay. He's been really good in every other game, and Notre Dame made him look pedestrian, right? But they get no credit for that right now, because North Carolina's only loss is Notre Dame, and Notre Dame lost to Marshall. Like, the Marshall loss is just, man, it's the ball and chain for this team, and I get it. I understand it. You can't lose to Marshall at home. You can't.
No, and that's, and I said, because we talked about this last week, would they be ranked if they won this game? Would they not? I thought it was going to take them a few weeks. I was saying 3. Now they're inching closer, so maybe a resounding win this week. You can't look bad against this Stanford team and think you're going to get ranked, but like, you look in the AP and the others receiving votes. Again, Carolina has 98 votes this week. Notre Dame has 58 votes. BYU has 61. So at least Notre Dame doesn't, like, the media typically is going to spend more time, looking at things like who beat who and that kind of stuff than the coaches, because, the coaches either have like an SID putting their poll together for them and the coach just signs off on it, or, if the coach actually is doing it, he's obviously not spending that much, looking at head-to-heads and all this different stuff. But I do think it's funny that Notre Dame literally has head-to-heads with teams that are right in front of them, head-to-head victories with teams right in front of them in the polls, and they're sitting behind them in both cases. But, again, like, it's encouraging that I think they win a couple more games. They're going to be in there. And then the big thing is, here in a few weeks, what comes out, the first college football playoff rankings, and that's the one that matters.
And Notre Dame could very well sneak into that one. I mean, the playoff committee is the one that puts out the top 25, and they have always given Notre Dame a lot of respect. It's hard with the Baylor loss. I mean, the Marshall loss, sitting there staring him in the face. I get it. But Notre Dame has opportunities on their schedule to make waves. They've got Clemson. They got USC. They have opportunities. They have to take advantage of those opportunities. If they don't, then they are who we thought they were.
Yeah. And, like you were just saying, you can't lose to Marshall. I think that weighs them down as much as beating BYU props them up at this point.
I agree with that.
It's one thing, it's like the line at the end of Saving Private Ryan, earn this. It's like if Marshall had beaten Notre Dame and then earned their place by continuing to win, it would be a completely different story. The loss doesn't look as bad, but the fact that Marshall has not been good since beating Notre Dame really hurts Notre Dame.
Yes, it hurts them very badly because Marshall is not playing well and they are getting beat. And it does not bode well for Notre Dame. It just makes it even worse.
Yeah, exactly. Fill in the blank. It's blank that according to tweets from people at Saturday's Shamrock Series game, Allegiant Stadium ushers were trying to kick out Notre Dame students for doing push-ups after Irish touchdowns.
Didn't we have this discussion after the Fiesta Bowl?
Fiesta Bowl, yes, exactly. I thought the exact same thing as soon as I saw this.
Yeah, and so is that? It must be an NFL thing. Like, sorry, it's the no fun league. It's the NFL, so you can't have fun on the field. You can't have fun in the stands. Like, look, if they break their neck, that's on them. Okay. And they can have a special Notre Dame rule, a caveat that if you do push-ups and you break your neck, that's on you. I realize that everybody's worried about litigation and everything else, but come on, man. That is a tradition at Notre Dame. It was technically a Notre Dame home game, and you can't do push-ups? Come on.
That's what I don't get, because it's a Notre Dame thing, obviously. I think Notre Dame students, Notre Dame fans know it. After a touchdown, the students do push-ups. And the fact that you're right, it's like it's supposed to be a Notre Dame home game on the road. And then so the students show up and they can't do push-ups. And like the fact that it happened at the Fiesta Bowl, okay, technically it's
a neutral field or whatever.
Game. They don't have to let you do
I get it.
Whatever. But it's odd. Yes. I wonder if NFL stadiums just have stricter rules for that, because I've never seen people. I've been to a few NFL games. I've never seen people doing push-ups at NFL games. And Tyler says only for students. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we've still got people jumping in asking about upon further review. 8:00 tonight. They were late getting their game film, and so 8:00 tonight you'll get upon further review. One of the most popular shows on this here channel.
It's a great show. I that's one of my favorite ones to do. It's a lot of fun because we usually break down the film and we pull up slideshows, and Brian gets crazy with his marker, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I tried to listen to one, and it wasn't as enjoyable, I don't think, as if I was watching.
I can imagine that would be the case. Yes,
that's right.
Right.
Makes sense. Talking about play-by-play and stuff like that, video versus audio.
Yeah.
So Marcus Freeman today called the Stanford game with Notre Dame a rivalry game. Do you buy or sell that?
I heard him say that. Let's not make things up. I mean, I realize there's a trophy involved, right? And, there's the argument that every team that plays Notre Dame makes it their rivalry game. Look, this is not a rivalry, okay?
You mean the Legends Trophy doesn't mean anything, Vince? Is that
not to me. Now, I always want every trophy that's available, right? When you have these trophies, these traveling trophies, I want every one of them. I don't want any of the podiums to be empty, right? So from that aspect, it's important. But it's not a rivalry game. It's a game that you play every year, which needs to go away, by the way. But it's a game you play every year because you want to get into California. Right. And you have somewhat like-minded academic goals. So if they started playing Vanderbilt, would that be a rivalry game? It's not a rivalry. Stanford dominated Notre Dame for a little while, and ever since then, Notre Dame has dominated Stanford. It is not a rivalry game. Stop it. Stop it. Don't even pretend.
I completely agree. If it was a real rivalry game, they would actually sell the damn thing out when they go to Stanford.
Yeah. Exactly.
And they don't.
Not even close.
They don't. The only game they sell out there is the game.
Yes.
The Cal Stanford game. That is the only game that sells out at Stanford, I believe. Just based on what I've seen. When you look at their attendance, it is horrible. These, programs have alternated over the years in terms of, really good and, average, and Stanford is very down right now, but I think it's going to be hard for Notre Dame to get up for this game this week.
Yeah,
it is just not a rivalry game. It is not USC. Like the only, USC right now is the only true rivalry game Notre Dame has left on the schedule.
Correct.
Navy,
It's not a rivalry
they've
game.
been playing it forever. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, to me, it's like one of those games that was still more about the other team. Because like even when Michigan State and Purdue were on the schedule every year, just what you were saying, those games meant more to
Yes.
those schools than they did to Notre Dame. And it's I don't even know what this means to Stanford.
Absolutely.
Like, if you go to USC, you hate Notre Dame. I know that.
Yes.
I don't know what people at Stanford hate. Like gigabytes or I don't know.
I consider
Don't have enough bandwidth.
I consider Purdue and Michigan State to be bigger rivals to Notre Dame than Stanford. McCostrub says the 2012 edition was pretty good. Right, but one game does not a rivalry make.
Thank you.
Like that doesn't. Yes, that was a great game, and it was the last second. It was in the rain. The last second win by Notre Dame, no doubt about it. But that does not make it a rivalry. That makes that a good game, but it's not a rivalry.
That's
Sorry,
exactly
Marcus.
right. I just don't buy it as a rivalry. Legends trophy or not. Stanford is not a rivalry game. It is a game that happens to be on the schedule every year because of what you said. They want to get to California,
right?
And they've used it to alternate with USC.
And there are other ways to get out to the West Coast. It is time to replace Stanford on the schedule. It's time.
Yeah. Fill in the blank. It's blank that Brian Kelly just donated $1 million to help renovate LSU's athletic training room and football operations. It is the largest donation by a sitting head coach in LSU history.
It tells me a couple of things. Number one, he's getting paid too much, so he has $1 million to spend. Number two, it means that I thought he went to LSU because they had better facilities and everything was better, and now he has to put his own money out to make it better?
I know.
Where was $1 million when he was here to go get a year-long chef or whatever he was missing at Notre Dame?
I mean, this is like, as a teacher, you should identify with this. Like, you've got to buy your own supplies, right? Or like, as a baseball coach, I don't know how much of my own money I invested as a high school baseball coach into buying things for the team. It's like, you are at LSU now, and supposedly all these advantages were coming to you when you went to LSU, and now you're giving the money?
Joke. Hilarious.
Where's the upgrade to the Goog that you were bitching about for years that never came?
Right. You didn't have $1 million to throw into the renovation to the Goog? Like, they could have gotten a lot further with $1 million.
Bought that new house instead, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That it was more important to buy the house when he was at Notre Dame, but now we're doing athletic training room. $1 million at
hilarious.
LSU.
Hilarious. Well, and when did that go public? Was it after the loss or was it before the loss? The most recent
might have been after that.
Is he searching for some goodwill at this point, or
we got our butts kicked by Tennessee? Here's $1 million.
Here's $1 million.
Go build a kitchen for the private chef.
Hilarious.
No kidding. I didn't think about that.
Oh man. I mean, he's struggling right now, and I'm here for it. So, and it doesn't get any easier. His schedule does not get any easier, fellas. And
I think a lot of people are here for it. Honestly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you hear all this stuff about Deion Sanders this weekend?
I actually did hear about it. So this is a fun topic.
This is crazy. So Deion Sanders, of course, he's the Jackson State head coach. He beats Alabama State Saturday. So Alabama State head coach Eddie Robinson, not related to the legendary Eddie Robinson, by the way. I was
wondering about that.
Researching this topic. I assumed right away it was, because it's actually Eddie Robinson Jr., but he's not related.
Oh, okay.
To that guy. Completely different. Eddie Robinson, he is the son of, apparently. So Deion shakes Eddie Robinson's hand. Or Eddie Robinson shakes Deion's hand, whichever way you want to look at it. But Deion tries to go in for the bro hug after the handshake, and Eddie Robinson's having none of it. Eddie, like, not only he didn't even give Deion the Heisman. He just is like throwing his arm off and he's walking away when Deion tries to go in for the hug. So Robinson said at his press conference that Sanders was disrespectful in the media during the week in the lead up to the Alabama State game. It was Alabama State's homecoming, and Deion's like, this is a money game, because Jackson State draws eyeballs. They're going to pack people in the stadium and all this different kind of stuff. So Eddie was mad because of Deion being disrespectful. So where do you stand on all this, from post-game coaches etiquette to the disrespect and everything else?
Honestly, if there's a side to take in this, I'm going to side with Eddie Robinson, to be honest with you. I am all for a handshake when the game is over. I'm all for it. I don't have to hug you. I can tell you right now, there's a coach, that I dislike greatly, who is a head baseball coach in the area.
Okay.
May or may not have taken over for you. I'll shake his hand every time, but I will not bro hug him. You know what I mean? I will Heisman that every time, man, because look, we're not friends. Let's not pretend that we are. I will shake your hand. Hey, good game, whatever. But I'm okay with it. If he's holding a grudge because of some of the things that Deion said, which I get, he's probably the underdog and, all of this, and they got beat on homecoming. Hey, man, I'll shake your hand, but I'm not hugging, and I'll let you know why too.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Eddie Robinson doesn't have to give a reason why he doesn't want to bro hug Deion Sanders.
That's true too.
Absolutely. It's, like you said, the etiquette is the nice and cordial thing. Our teams line up from each other. We line up across the field from each other. We go at it for 3 hours. At the end of the day, when it's all said and done, we put whatever disagreements we might have, even if we're going to do the drive-by handshake, we do the drive-by handshake. We do that. We make the little public gesture. Anything after that is overkill and optional. Like if you're not my guy, I'm not going in for the hug with you.
And there's plenty of guys that I respect and that I enjoy and that I'm friends with. I'll bro hug you guys all the day, all time, all day long. But that is not a requirement in any way, shape, or form. Handshake it. Good game. I'm going to right field to talk to my kids. And now, we're done here.
As to the whole, was Deion disrespectful? One, the Deion Sanders experience, and this goes all the way back, 30 years ago to his playing days at Florida State. Yeah. Deion Sanders is an experience unto himself. Deion likes Deion, and there's always going to be a neon Deion primetime, whatever you want to call it. There's going to be a show. There's going to be a sideshow that comes along with Deion. But Jackson State likes the attention. Deion likes the attention. Deion's kid is really good. They're winning a lot of football games since he's been there. But was he disrespectful? I read it's like, it's a money game and, we're going to put butts in the seats. It is what it is.
I don't have a problem with that, to be honest with you. I don't have a problem with what Deion said. But if Eddie took offense to it, then okay, whatever. Don't give him a bro hug. But I don't have a problem with Deion. He is the ringmaster of the circus. And what happens when the circus comes to town.
Nobody's talking about SWAC football if Deion Sanders isn't the head coach and winning the way he's winning.
Right. You got it. Yeah. You got it.
All right. I believe this is our last question tonight.
All right. If you must, you must.
Baltimore Ravens kicker.
Oh, yes. This is
on the subject of shows. Were you watching the game last night when this happened by any chance? Or did you
I was watching the game when this happened. I also saw it on the replay, and they had a whole story on him this morning on the Today Show. It was happened before the kick. Wow. But they had a whole thing on him this morning. So
So Ravens kicker Justin Tucker did a little pose for the crowd last night after he booted a 58-yard field goal. No small feat. 58 yards.
Yes.
58 yards. He drills it. And he holds his hands up in the air, and I'm doing it on the video as if to say, behold my greatness, basically, is what it was. So my question is, do you like that kind of borderline cockiness in your kickers?
Absolutely. Of all the positions on my field, I want my kicker to be cocky as long as he can back it up. Because kicker, you're either the GOAT or the hero. There's really not a whole lot of in between when you're the kicker. And if you are a kicker as good as he is, okay, he averages 136 points a year, okay? That's more than any other player in the history of the NFL.
It's a lot of points.
That's a lot of points, man. And he's also the only $20 million kicker out there.
He's also the only opera singer.
Yes, that is also true.
$20 million kicker out there. Like, that's what I would actually like to see. They need a microphone on him. And when he boots that kick and he's like, oh, solo me, so he needs to belt something out for the crowd. Not just wave the arms in the air. I mean, it's not like this is the Cardinals kicker who's shanking the kick off to the right in a clutch moment. Not a very, like, did you see that by any chance? I flipped over, I've got the ticket, so I flipped over after the Cowboys game was over, and right at that point, it's like 20-17. He's kicking to tie it up after, Kyler Murray, screws up the whole situation to begin with, but he's kicking to tie it up, and Fox starts showing his pregame kicks. He's like, everything off to the right, off to the right, off to the right. Guess what happens? Wide right.
Off to the right.
Exact same thing, wide right, on these short kicks. But it's not like Justin Tucker is that, like he's shanking, half of his stuff. And then on the one that he happens to kick, now he's out there extorting the crowd and, that whole thing. It's like he can back it up. If he can back it up, go for it.
He's the GOAT. Like, he doesn't have as many Super Bowls as Adam Vinatieri, but he's a better kicker. Yes. And when you're that good, then you know what? It is what it is. I have no problem with that. You just kicked a 58-yard field goal to win the game. Congratulations, man. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, he's earning every penny of that $20 million.
Yep. Upon further review, 8:00 tonight. Brian asked me, we've mentioned that a few times. Upon further review, will be at 8:00 tonight. So we still have that coming up. I didn't know how to make this a rapid fire question because I wasn't sure if you're going to be able to see it. Did you see what happened with the Tom Brady sack against the Falcons yesterday?
I did not, but I did see people making fun of it. So I can only imagine what it looked like.
So this dude sacks Tom Brady. Tom Brady's got the ball in his hand. Okay. He is sacked. This guy basically, like, how would I even describe the tackle? He didn't try to break Tom Brady in half. He wrapped him up and he rolled him to the ground.
Okay.
And then he got up and walked away. They threw a flag for basically one of the most textbook sacks of a quarterback. Like, if you were going to show your players how to properly sack a quarterback without getting flagged, that is probably it. They called roughing the passer on this guy.
I'm watching it right now. Are they saying that he slung him around and slammed him into the ground? Like, that was,
I don't know.
That was a little bit more than a hug. Like, that was, I'm sorry. There is no way that Tom Brady even felt that. That's bad.
Well, this initials guy, I don't know what exactly that is, MKO. He says it's a subjective call, but it's not against the statute. Every call is subjective. That's what else? Now, some are more textbook than the other. Like, should it be, should there have been 2 flags thrown at the end of the Kansas TCU game for defensive holding? Yes, there should have, but it's subjective. So the flags were thrown.
I get those. But that was I'm sorry. I don't. And I also realize that different players get different kinds of calls. I realize it's Tom Brady. I realize he's 107 years old. But that sack was not going to hurt Tom Brady in any way, shape, or form.
No.
So you don't call that. That's terrible.
Right. I mean, if we're throwing flags because a guy's a geriatric out there and we're worried he's going to get hurt, because he's taken to the ground,
then he shouldn't be playing.
Yeah.
And this is a contact sport. Okay.
Exactly.
Sorry.
We were talking about Justin Tucker, and Brian J. Irish says something we don't talk about much. Notre Dame punter is something special. And I
John
saw somebody
Sott is
say
very good.
John Sott needs to be doing some Conor McGregor. There it is. It's still up there. John Sott needs to be doing the Conor McGregor this Saturday. Now that would be funny. Like if John Sott punts from his own 10 and rolls one inside the other 10-yard line, and he,
that would
goes off with with the $1 billion strut. That would be funny.
Look, he was almost too. He had one punt, right? He had one punt on Saturday, and it was too good. He literally outkicked his coverage.
Right.
I mean, that was a bomb, right? I mean, you want to talk about a transfer pickup? Like that is a huge waiver wire pickup for Notre Dame was John Sott, and he is playing very, very well, very, very well.
Yep, he is. Like, I think Blake Grupe's field goal kicking could be a little bit better, but otherwise, even though we haven't seen,
he's only missed one.
Well, technically, he missed another short one, but again,
it got called back.
An errant flag bailed him out. And
it did. So he's only missed one.
Right.
Just saying. I'm defending the kicker.
No, you're right. My point was going to be special teams have been very solid. I've seen some people kind of taking shots at special teams just because there hasn't been that big spectacular play yet. They have been very solid.
They have been.
And I think that over time, we'll start to see some of that stuff.
Yes.
I think it's kind of one of those.
Brandon Joseph's going to break one at some point. I mean, he's been real close at times. I mean, I'd love to see another Chris Tyree touchdown return, no doubt about it. So, yes, I think the special teams have been great.
Yeah.
Unlike before under the last coordinator, who's really having a great year.
Well, I was going to say that guy down there in Baton Rouge
having a great year,
feeling some heat for the special teams down there.
Great year.
Special teams play lost them the game against Florida State, if you remember that.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yep. All right, folks. Well, that is going to do it for tonight. Appreciate you joining us. And again, one more time, upon further review, 8 o'clock tonight here on the old Irish Breakdown.
42 minutes, people. Probably more like 47. But tune in, 8 o'clock, upon further review. Brian and Ryan are going to break it down with the film and have a lot of fun with that.
Yep, absolutely. Again, don't forget, if you would, hit the like button, rate, review, subscribe, all that great stuff. Appreciate you stopping in today. We've got a lot of stuff, of course, all week, every week that we're going to talk about. Mailbag on Wednesday. Got a Stanford beat writer coming up later in the week. People like the BYU beat writer last week, so we'll have the Stanford guy coming up later this week. And tomorrow, we're going to jump into some deeper Drew Pine conversation. So we've got that coming up on tomorrow's show as well.
Love it.
So Can't wait. Talk to you then. Again, upon further review, 8 o'clock tonight. Peace out. We will talk to you tomorrow. IB Nation Sports Talk.
Thanks for coming.